Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear first co-founder.
Gabriel. Well, he's Brazilian like me, so we're not shy. I'll be there for sure. There you go.
There he is.
So sorry about, I haven't seen the first invitation then. Sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
Good morning to everyone there.
I'm guessing from your name only that you're either Italian or Eastern European, like Balkans, Slovenia, Bosnia area.
Montenegro, right?
Oh, I'm so close.
Yeah, I know. I'm originally from Brazil, although I did a DNA test and I'm not Brazilian, so to say.
Oh, okay. So I
From a
guess
DNA
wrong on the
perspective.
name basis, but I happen to guess right on where you live.
Yeah.
And now, how did you people come together in your very different countries? Just crossed in industry?
But I live in Germany, which is not far from the Netherlands, where Gabriel lived. Right?
Okay.
And we actually met, I think, in Belgium. So as you know, Europe is quite small, so you go everywhere very quickly.
First question, what's in the name?
The J58?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. When we started the company, I mean, if I can just introduce myself shortly and then Gabriel will take over because he's an excellent speaker. I have been working in the medical field since 2003. When I finished my PhD in chemistry here in Germany at the Max Planck, I moved to Toronto to work in the biomedical engineering department, trying to solve a major problem with the spinal cord injury. So I was working developing nanoparticles to carry drugs to the spinal cord. Then 2006, I came back to Germany to start another company in the medical field. And that's what I have been doing, like developing products for nerve repair and few other applications. And during the COVID time, I approached Gabriel and said, hey, I know you are a super intelligent engineer. Why don't we develop this company and this product? And we didn't have a cool name for this until we thought about what is the company about? It's about people standing up, right, and moving. So we came to this old story where a man has been paralyzed and sitting there for 30 years and people just walked by, nobody cared about him until one day a man came, saw him and said, stand up and go. And that is written in the book of John, chapter 5, verse 8. So that's why J58. It's all about standing up and let people.
Nice.
So you like the story?
So this is John chapter 5, verse 8?
Exactly.
And what exactly is the verse?
Jesus.
The verse says, yeah, Gabriel, go ahead.
Talks to the paralyzed man, he says, get up, take your mat and walk.
That's fantastic.
That's how it, so we want to be the modern miracle of today, basically. And that's how it started. But let me just go ahead quickly over this short presentation I have about presenting the company. And yeah, of course, at this moment, I think this picture right now is can be quite relatable. I don't think anybody's standing in here at this moment. So it's quite common that we sit a lot on a daily basis, of course. So I'm just gonna ask you guys, on average, who here sits for more than 5 hours a day?
Does laying down and sleeping count?
Yeah. It's good
okay,
enough.
I will say well north of 12.
Okay. Good, you're upping the average because on average, a person sits 10 hours every day. And of course, as we can imagine, they call sitting the new smoking because it leads to quite a few issues like heart diseases, diabetes, and overall just a shorter life expectancy. But the main issue is for people who have no choice but to sit all day. And there's been a lot of research being done in the past few years, and they've found that the average life expectancy of a wheelchair user due to the sedentary lifestyle is 65 years, compared to on average 80 for a person who does not have a spinal cord injury.
That's fascinating. And the delta is less about their injury and disability than their activity level?
Yes, it's because it worsens actually existing conditions. Like, for example, increasing the chance of diabetes, delaying also the healing of certain issues. Like, for example, they can also obtain a lot of pressure wounds due to blood circulation being cut off as they're seated all day. So there are a lot of issues that get worse due to the fact that they're exercising less. Of course, it's just good for your body overall to be able to.
Yeah, and I
exercise.
can add the fact that you are sitting the whole day, every day, the probability of developing an emboli increases dramatically. So the risk of having an aneurysm, stroke is pretty high in this group. And if you get paralyzed at a young age, you miss a very important time of your life when you should be moving, jumping, running. And so a lot of hormones won't be produced at the level they should have been. And imagine also all the other issues related to the organs, they are compressed. You have digestive problems and loads of other issues that overall will lead to a shorter life expectancy.
Exactly. However, it's not just also health-related problems that wheelchair users have to face. In Europe alone, we have found that 1 in 2 people with spinal cord injuries are unemployed. And this is, of course, dramatically not only for their just physical health, but also their mental health. They have less financial opportunities, they experience a lot of social exclusion, and that also leads to a lot of lower life expectancy and a lower just happiness level overall. Due to the fact, of course, what they have to face is social stigma on the workplace.
I'm sorry, maybe I was
day-to-day.
paying attention to one of my sister's dogs. The acronym SCI stands for?
Spinal cord injury.
Thank you.
And well, while noticing this, and of course having a co-founder who is in a wheelchair, we started to look at, okay, but what are alternatives to be able to solve this issue? How can we make a wheelchair user feel more like they belong, to increase their health, to increase their job opportunity? So we looked at what is currently existing, which are electric standing wheelchairs, what we just talked about. So these are wheelchairs that support the person in order to be able to stand, but also to move while they're standing. However, what we notice is they're often very heavy and not dismountable. So this means that cannot be used as a typical primary wheelchair. That's something that a person uses on a day-to-day basis. Because if you want to travel with it, you would already need to have like an adapted car, because it's not something you can easily just put in the back of your car and then take it around. Also, it's very expensive, like 20K, 30K, depending on how much it has to be adapted to your body as well. And at least in Europe, it's often not reimbursed by instances. So this means that the person has to pay this by themselves.
Right.
I'm
thinking that wheelchairs are commonly reimbursed. They think that's necessary, but do you really need to stand?
Yes.
And they say,
exactly.
well, wheelchair is good enough. I'm not paying for that.
Exactly. It's standing is seen like a luxury.
Do you think that there could, I mean, I recognize that you're a young company, your resources are scarce. Do you think there's the potential for insurance companies over time to be convinced that this is necessary technology and therefore reimbursable?
For sure. And that's also the point where I want to get at, because the main issue is that this cannot be used as a primary chair. So this would be technically always be used as a secondary chair. That's also where it creates the obstacle, because it's really expensive. So the idea was to really be able to take away the disadvantages of a electric standing wheelchair, but keep the positive things of it. So we developed a completely mechanical wheelchair, which allows the person to be able to stand, so like, for example, to be more independent, go to the supermarket and be able to grab the stuff, but also to move while standing, to also allow for a freedom perspective also on that side of things. So the idea with this was really to create a primary wheelchair that's lightweight, that's more affordable, easy to carry around, and just more simplistic overall.
And you happen to be the handsome model demonstrating in this picture, yes?
Indeed. But however, we of course have tested with various wheelchair users themselves. So
no, I understand. And as a marketer, I understand you want attractive people to demonstrate the product to, get people excited about it. Wow, that's great. Very exciting. Nelly?
So I actually have a brother-in-law who's wheelchair bound, and one of the things, it's a problem for him, and I'm wondering if you guys have considered or addressed it, is many of them have to have repeated shoulder surgery because of having to wheel themselves around, and so that is another area that's very complicated for them. Have you guys put that into one of your user specs?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, the better the wheelchair is adapted to the person, the less of these issues are to occur. So we have developed, we have to make sure at least in the next versions that we have a wheelchair will allow for a lot of customizability. So the better it is adapted to the person, the less these risks are present.
Yeah,
so
but
that's why we're
too much customization, then you make it hard to what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? You're really, the more customizing you do, the harder you're going to make it to get approval. Because when you actually have a standard model and then you have accessories you can add, that's one thing. But when you're customizing it for each person, it makes it very hard to standardize your finished goods.
Of course. And the idea is not that we actually customize it for each person themselves, but our system is just very flexible.
Okay.
The backrest can be moved backwards, the footrest can be raised lower and higher.
Interesting.
So we can ensure that it actually can be adapted to as many people as possible. Of course, if there are some special needs, we'd have to look a little bit further. But we're working together with one of the biggest rehabilitation centers in the Netherlands, who by luck is just 10 minutes from our office. So
But
to
I
ensure
would coach you not to use customization in any way, make it configurable. Because if you're just adjusting things on the chairs to fit them, that's configurable. When you're customizing, it means you're actually making a special feature for the end user that makes it customizing.
Patricia, before I call on you, let me just throw out real quick questions. How long has this been in development? How much money have you raised? How many employees do you have today?
I mean, if we could go to the presentation,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sure
You
that
anticipated all these questions. All right. Here, importantly, how do you know Hyben? Luke.
Hyben?
We don't know each other.
Yeah.
What? You what?
We never met, but we have mutual acquaintances. Like, I guess you met Tijn Huttenhuis at one point.
Yep,
and
for sure.
we developed a vaginal probe together, which was fun, and also some other electrical systems. And
Engineers are going to engineer. I get you.
oh no, it's also like the startup accelerator they're in.
Mhm.
My wife worked at the same accelerator, but she worked on the SMB part instead of the startup part. So they know each other. And last thing is on our company website, people were asked to test drive this wheelchair in our company.
Nice. And how many kilometers between the two of you?
It's the other side of the street, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Something like that.
The other side of the street?
Yep.
And
Literally.
you've yet to meet?
There are about 12,000 people on the university. And our company has 1,000 engineers, so I don't even know everybody in our company.
Of course. Still, I would think if you leave now, you could probably get to Gabriel's before the end of the presentation.
I'm at home now.
Right. Patricia?
We at the office within the time of the presentation, yes.
Yeah, no, but we're sure to meet one day.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you so much, and I apologize for attending a little bit late, so I might have missed a point. I think this is a phenomenal product that you have. I really appreciate it. I have my stepfather in January fell and he broke C2 to C6, and so he couldn't get up, and he's grossly overweight, so no one could lift him. It took like multiple people to lift him, so even that in and of itself, I feel like this would have been great for him because he likes to move around. But my question to you is, and I might have missed it, why can't this be a primary wheelchair? Because that seems to be your obstacle in terms of getting funding from health insurance companies.
No. So the idea is that this will become a primary wheelchair. What can't really be a primary wheelchair are the electric semi-wheelchairs because of the weight, because of the price, the complex system. And the idea with this is that it's a completely mechanical system that we make lightweight, that we make affordable, and we add the function of the movement while standing. That's what we're going for. So it's the fact is that when it's just seated, it's just a regular wheelchair with the function to stand up and to move while standing. That's what we're going for here.
I'm curious, and I know a rich presentation awaits us. I want to call on Rick, who is a product designer. Before you tell us more, Rick, what are your just initial thoughts and perhaps a question or two that you have about the development or functionality of this product?
Oh, I think this is a blast. I've just been enjoying the heck out of this. I'm looking at it and I think electrical systems are amazing, but if we can make things simpler, if we can make things less expensive, if we can make things more applicable to all different situations, having it be your main wheelchair and everything like that, I love mechanical solutions because they tend to be, if they're possible, and apparently this is, they tend to be much more inexpensive. And so my favorite projects are ones that make expensive therapies or expensive assistance much cheaper so that more people can get it. And the illustration that I have is instead of having to take out a loan for it, buy it with your credit card. I mean, if you can reduce things to that order of magnitude.
Mhm.
And so I'm still in the place of listening. I already found out it can be your primary wheelchair also, which is huge. And we've got some disabled people at the church where I go, and I'm just kind of going, maybe some of them would like this, because a lot of folks who attend with us are not really people of means. I mean, they don't have really, really super expensive insurance programs and things like that. And a lot of them we're paying for some of their stuff. And so this would be
Gabriel, I'm
anything-
thinking you hear this all the time when you present. Somebody knows someone and they say, wow, they would really love this.
For sure, and it's always great to hear, because that's exactly what we want. We want to create something that really is attractive, but people can actually see others using it. They can see the potential value that it could bring. That's
And a side note, I
great,
think I
great,
learned
great.
today, because of you and because of what Rick just said, that a mechanical engineer is someone who specializes in things that are not electrical. Is that true?
Yeah, technically they could still have the electrical knowledge to add to things, but the main thing is indeed
The
systems that
physics
do not
of leverage
exactly.
and such.
Exactly.
If I can add, Joe, if I can add one comment here, is the fact that if you have an electrical wheelchair, and I happen to be in a group, we have orphanages and schools in different countries in Africa and Latin America. So one of the directors of one of the schools, he got in a car accident, a bus accident, he got paralyzed. He came to Germany for an event. So we collected money and bought him an electrical wheelchair. First problem, the airline didn't want to take in because it's heavy and they're afraid of leaks in the battery. So, and explosions, of course. That was the first challenge. We had to pray there in the airport until someone could let the guy go with his wheelchair. When he arrived in Rwanda, the wheelchair broke. And it's still broken there because there is no way to repair.
Interesting, yeah.
In this particular case, and Gabriel will come to this point, we are organizing that bike shops can repair it. So if someone has a problem, he goes to a bike shop to solve it. So that's how the level of reducing complexity and problems, because imagine you have a wheelchair that costs 30,000 and you can't use. You have to wait until someone comes to pick it up and solve the problem for you. It's a nightmare. So that's why, I mean, anyone who has been working in the engineering field, and especially mechanical engineering, when they see this, they fall in love, because it's clear, the message is clear.
Thank you.
And before I go into a bit more of our innovation, I'd also like to, of course, present the team, because it was one of the questions. Who is behind J5A? And I'd like to show that we have 3 founders, which is me, Rivelino, and Augusto. So Augusto was the main, how can I say, the main idea behind J5A, to why we wanted to inspiration. Thank you. Inspiration is the word I was looking for. Main inspiration. Augusto had a car accident in the year 2000 that left him paralyzed. But before having the car accident, he was playing on a high-level volleyball in Brazil. So as being a tall guy, like I think 2 meters tall, is what's his length, which is way above average anyway. Suddenly he became at the half of his length. So you can imagine how big of an impact it already had in his life. So as Rivelino and Augusto were both school friends, Rivelino always had the idea in mind that there should be something we could do to enable him to be able to stand again, and who knows, maybe play volleyball again one day. So we met a couple of years ago at the conference, and the idea was really to see if we could work together in order to create an innovation that could help Augusto stand again. That's how it started, and over the past few years we've also grown. So we now have a team of about 10 people, where we have mainly students as well. We have a couple of interns who all help us to bring the innovation forward. We also have a partnership with the Roesting, which is one of the biggest rehabilitation centers in the Netherlands. Tintec is our engineering partner, so they are taking over now the production model and making sure we can make something that is functional, it's safe, but also fulfills all the other requirements of being lightweight, being easy to carry around, and to just take anywhere you want. And Novelty, which is a startup accelerator here at my university that assists us in all the business-related things that we need.
So are you a full-time university?
No, I'm already finished. So I finished my master's 2 years ago. But at the university, they also provide office spaces. So I'm currently in the office space that the university provides. And they also provide other things like mentorship. They help with funding. They help with all kinds of things. Basically, any startup would need to say.
Europeans will be amused that I have to do this, but for the sake of my American friends, I was curious, and Augusto is about 6'5". So yes, very tall. That's what 2 meters works out to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Dutch are tall anyway, so we already are prepared for that. If our chair can fit the Dutch, they can fit anybody in the world.
Maybe I'll show you. I'll put it in the link. I'll just go off. Well, there's a skit in one of our popular comedy shows that talks about the difference in weights and measures between America and Europe, and it really makes me laugh. So go on.
No issues. So yeah, that's a bit on our team, and of course we looked at together what are the benefits really that our chair can bring, which has been in the people we've tested with mainly the emotions, the fact that, you know, on the left we have a video that can show for short, but on the left we have Martin, who had a diving accident 18 years ago, was able to hug and kiss his wife on eye level. You've seen the video, of course, of the independence, the fact that you can go to a supermarket, be able to reach the top shelf. Also, you know, in a kitchen or at your friend's kitchen, you can do all the things normally you wouldn't be able to. On the right, we have Jeroen, who had an accident last year and was able to make use of a standing table. So you can imagine people going to concerts instead of having to look at the backs or the butts of people. They can actually see the stage, or, you know, go to a bar, drink something with your friends. So all these things really have been the main reason. It's about the emotion. It's not even like the job benefit. It's not even the health benefit. It's really the fact that you can look people in the eyes and you can feel like you belong. And of course, also in this case, coincidentally, we found a paralyzed comedian from the US in Amsterdam, and we gave him the chair and said, "Hey, now you can actually do stand-up comedy."
That's funny.
So this is, of course, it was an amazing opportunity. Anthony's an awesome guy, and yeah, it's one of the reasons, of course, that we're doing this for. And here it was the first test user, Martin, who, again, as you can see, was standing for the first time in 18 years.
That's very nice.
So, do you guys actually have a regulatory quality team, or are you guys still just in prototyping development?
Yep, revealing the connection.
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm the one who leads the QM system and the regulatory path, because I have been doing this for my other startups. I had the privilege to go through the 510K submission multiple times. And then, but we are doing first the MDR here in Europe to get the CE mark. Later on, we will do the US. So once we get the CE mark done, because for whatever reason, the FDA does not classify a mechanical wheelchair, a standing wheelchair, as class 1, but class 2. So we have to go through a 510K process.
I'm curious. I typically associate class 2 and 3 devices with mandatory clinical trials. I can't imagine
class 3, you are right, but class 2 not necessarily.
Okay, because I wouldn't even know what would you be measuring exactly. So you don't need a trial for that.
It depends a lot what you are claiming. If you are claiming medical advantage, if you say my wheelchair will make your bone density increase.
Right. I understand. Good point. Yes, thank you.
Indeed. And also I can show you just a timeline of where we are now and what the next steps will be.
I'm acutely interested to know.
So from January on this year, we basically did all kinds of user testings. We've gathered a lot of wheelchair users. We asked their feedback. We, of course, made these nice videos that you could have seen. And after everything that we've gathered, we've continued the development of the chair to make it better. At this stage right now, we've also found 5 companies, of which Demcon is the one that actually connected us with Luc, where we're doing pilots with them. So the idea is actually to test and to see how our chair could maybe assist people would normally have like a distance to the labor market to enable them to be able to do jobs that they normally wouldn't be able to do. So instead of the company having to adapt their work environment to the person can be adapted to the work environment. So these 5 companies are interested in doing this pilot, where we leave the chair there for a week. We follow them. We see we also see like how their social interaction changes, if they feel better with the chair, and everything else that we can learn, of course, because we believe that could be a very interesting market because in Europe there is something called the participation law, which means that from a certain
What
percentage
law?
of the participation law.
Oh, okay.
So it's a certain percentage of if your employees should actually be a person with some kind of disability.
Uh-huh.
So in order to create a more inclusive workforce.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of companies can't actually achieve that quota because they don't know how to adapt their work environment to the person. So with this, we hope to help companies also achieve that quota and make it also cheaper for them because there are a lot of subsidies that enable companies to be able to buy any kind of medical equipment or equipment to enable people to be able to work.
I have to
So-
say that the folks who have met me in person know that this will be a very consistent comment with who I am, but I sense love in this company. There's like I'm breathing differently, listening to you about the potential of how this can make people so much happier, not to mention longevity and things, just the delight of being able to do again. So I'm surprised to see that you're launching or you propose that you may launch in Q3, which we're in, but you don't yet have your CE or MDR. I'm skeptical on this timeline.
Let me jump in now. As you know, as a class 1 in Europe, but this
Oh,
is
it's
class
class
1
one in Europe.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
class 2 in the US. So in Europe, so we give ourselves, and once we do now I missed the word for the document that we have to prepare. Well, we have to go through some. Sorry, Gabriel.
Sorry, the attachment to quality management system.
Yeah, I mean, there is, of course, this major document that we have to prepare after we have done our clinical evaluation and all the necessary ISO certificate, ISO tests that have to be done from the mechanical perspective. So
Yes.
you have to run a multiple, like
Yeah.
200,000 times it has to see if
Right. Yep. I
thing that
get it.
doesn't break. But then we give ourselves the CE mark. So it is, we are not dependent on
On a notified body.
exactly.
Because I was
that's
like,
what
that
makes it-
alone is like add
No.
2 years.
I know the pain. I've been there, but I don't want.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now I don't.
I'm
want
also interested to know
again.
how robust your IP and your patents are. And I regret, as I mentioned at the top of the call, this is the day after Independence Day. This is a fraction of the people that typically come. We are woefully underrepresented by Americans, among whom is a gal who specializes in patent searches. She's not an IP attorney. All she does is look robustly at all of the rights to operate and things like that. So I don't know if that's interesting for you. And of course, we do have our resident IP attorney that is perhaps the best presenter of these concepts that I've ever met. So I don't know, where are you with that, and how good do you feel about your protections?
So we have made the submission. We have had the first feedback from the European Patent Office. We wrote as you know, the first response you get is always negative. So we wrote why they were not correct in the evaluation. So, and it's a process that goes back and forth. I will not get into the details of the process, but standing up itself or stand-up wheelchair cannot be patented because it already exists since a long time. But the mechanism that is related there, which gives you, and that's the important thing, it's about safety. It's how to make sure that the center of gravity gets into the right place and that the user will not fall. So that's where the whole patent comes around. It's the mechanism that we use to make sure that you stand and you are safe. And I just wanted to make one comment to what you were saying, like you feel love and so on. There is another particular thing related to the company, to the product itself, which in my opinion is extremely important. And as I said, I've been working in the medical field for many years. Making people using their devices or whatever things to improve their health is extremely complicated. You know, a lot of people, they will use it once or twice to improve their health. They won't do it anymore. In this case, they would do the things they love. The stand-up comedian will stand up to tell the stories, his jokes. The guy who will stand up to kiss his wife. So they will do the things they love and they'll improve their health by doing what they like. It's not like, hey, look, you have to use this product in order to get better. So that's why I think it's a fascinating concept. And I believe, I mean, of course, just in
I get it. This is what you do for a living and you're, passionate about it. But yes. And when I made the comment about love, I completely forgot that you were using John chapter 5, verse 8 is the name of your company. So there's probably
Yeah.
some implicit love there to begin with. Alexandros?
Yes, I just wanted to, exactly on this point, to ask how was defined the intended use, and which are the indications and which the contraindications? Because here we have one patient which is standing, and it is very important that you define where this wheelchair should be avoided, practically.
Yes. Yeah,
The idea of a contraindication for a wheelchair sounds, I would have never even thought of that. What could it possibly be?
well, we do have
This
we
is
do
one
have
special wheelchair, which because in the medical devices or everywhere, always is very important to have the clinical benefit over the risks.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we have to find out. Basically, the base model was actually a co-founder who has spinal cord injury of around C4, and he can still use his upper body. So basically, if you're able to use a manual wheelchair, you will be able to use our wheelchair. If you, of course, have a higher spinal cord injury, basically, you would already need to have an adapted electric wheelchair to move around. So if you can still use your upper body, you have 2 intact legs. If you have an amputation, we would have to adapt the wheelchair to that, which as of right now, this model is not adapted to that. If you have 2 legs, just from a C4 or lower,
Right, from
you
where
will
the
be able to
balance
use
is.
exactly. We'll be able to use our
Yes.
wheelchair.
Interesting.
If you allow me some other questions, have you applied one completely formative evaluation regarding usability engineering file? And so you are now near to the launching to the market, yeah, third quarter 24. So I can imagine now you are in the phase of summative evaluation.
If I can add one thing here, Alexandro, I mean, 2 things actually. First, the intended use, as we know, when we do a 510K submission and you have intended use for wheelchairs.
Exactly, because the intended use is very important as first deliverables for one pre-submitting to the 510K, and they will very quickly switch off the discussion if you don't have correct. I say that from experience. If you don't have precise indications and contraindications.
But in the intended use for wheelchair, we use what it's there, like what is in the in the legislation. Let's put this way.
And you need, of course, one equivalent device, which must be really equivalent, exactly.
And they are predicate devices that we can pick. Exactly, we can choose, and we just stick to this. We don't do medical claims at this stage to get a 510K, because if you do, then you fall into the problem that Joe mentions. You have to go through a clinical trial, and no startup has money to run a clinical trial that you would have to measure bone density and all this. What we plan to do, but this is for later, once the product's in the market is running and everything, then we can collect data and partner with institutions that would be willing to do, like the case in the Netherlands, there's one called Rusink, that they would have in a form of a collaboration, apply, for example, for European funding, that we would be able to study this and see indeed how it improves the health of the people. And then we could maybe go and try to improve our intended use. But at this moment, we stick to the predicate device. And concerning the documentations, that's what we are preparing now, all the documentations that are necessary. As you know, MDR is quite tough. I mean, there are a lot of documents you have to collect. 510K is a lot easier at this moment, but they are slowly approaching the ISO standards, so they are going this direction. Soon will be somehow a little bit kind of very similar. So
yes, you need, of course, to establish one MDR QMS with all the SOPs. FDA is a little, let's say, relaxed in the case, I will check you directly what you have. They say, I will check you later, but it's still for you as company important that you establish the MDR QMS, the roles, the responsibilities, you know, and how can I say, to convince the FDA that you have really one exactly predicate device. You need really one matrix where you answer a lot of sub definitions of the intended.
No, but this we already have.
Super. That is. I'm glad to hear that, because I talk from one very fresh experience.
Yeah, I know. This is tough. Sometimes you get in a big trouble with the FDA, and then it can go on and on for months and years.
Roland, is there any mechanical
how
wheelchair?
if you allow me, only last question, how it is in your company, let's say the overall understanding from QA/RA is everyone understands that, or there is someone which needs, let's say, explanation from others?
So from a quality management perspective, so I'm
Yes.
the one pushing everyone to read the quality manual, you know, and
Okay.
then it takes time to convince them. And you, as you can imagine, how hard it is to be pushing people. Hey, you guys have to read, you have to sign, you have to do this.
You just have to
But-
find the employees that are having a hard time sleeping.
Yes. Exactly. And Joe, to your question, yes, there are mechanical wheelchairs in the market that they stand. However, and now comes, they can't move. They are static. So
Oh.
that's the first thing. Second, they are heavy too.
Yeah.
They don't have one thing. I don't want to enter into many details of some of peculiarities of our wheelchair that we want to present once we launch, because we look at them and we look what they offer, and we know from patients and people who had them before and why it didn't become an option. Why they didn't make to the market to make something that really works. So we kind of understand this, and that's where we are entering and make a wheelchair that people say, look, I just need this wheelchair, which actually, if you think for a moment, it should be the standard. I mean, it should be every wheelchair should be like that, right? At the end of the day, everyone should be able to, it's a basic thing that someone should be able to stand up and do it. But anyway, I mean, we are, as you know, market will be the ultimate or the final truth. Only
Of
once we
course.
get to the market.
As
Yes.
a marketing strategist, I'm wondering,
Yes.
can you
Actually,
complete the sentence and say, this product is the first to ever something?
To ever allow wheelchair users to have one chair that gives them independence, full independence. Because as an example, there are loads of wheelchair users that have a standing table at home. So they get out of the chair, they hang themselves like in a table, they are stretching themselves for like an hour or 30 minutes or so, but they don't buy a standing wheelchair that is available there. If an electrical, it's too expensive and all the problems we already talked about. And the ones that they are very few, but they do not give them the independence. They wouldn't go on the streets with them. They are still heavy. Even the mechanical one, they're heavy. Once you stand up, you can't move. So you have to go down again in order to move. And we had a lady who we interviewed, and she said that she tried one. And she said, I was in a party, I stood up. But people don't stay static while they are standing apart and talking. They move. Every time I had to go down, put everything in all the mechanisms, some of them. The other thing you will notice, Joe, is if you look for standing wheelchairs, mechanical, you will find some videos. Pay attention to the biceps of the users. All of them like strong guys, because for them to stand up, they have to have a lot of force.
Right.
And that's what we don't want. We
Is there
want
a way to measure
me to be able to do it.
Is there a way to measure in terms that a layperson can understand how strong you have to be able to use it?
So our chair, basically, we can adapt the gas distance to the user's weight. That's actually what enables an easy transition from seated to standing. Other wheelchairs, other standing wheelchairs, what they use basically is a jack system, which you use to push yourself forward. That really depends on how strong your upper body is to be able to push yourself up to get there. So they make use of a gas system, but completely different than the way we do. So that's why we really want to ensure that it's easy enough for a person to get up and get down, so that anybody can do it. And it's as Ruben said, every marketing video that we've seen from a competitor would just be kind of like almost like a US veteran that
Okay. Yeah, I would think that it certainly wouldn't be your first campaign, but sometime along the way, demonstrating that, because I'm thinking my partner just lost her grandmother who was wheelchair bound. And if I were to show them this, it'd be like, there's just no way that grandma's going to be able to blank, blank, blank. It's just not possible. So I'm wondering, how do you convey, no, grandma can do this. Your grandma can, that grandma can't. I mean, how do you, that's going to be fine. And
well, we have a grandpa.
Challenging.
A grandpa.
Well, again, like, so he looks much better than grandma did. Alexandros again?
Yes, if you allow me one question, not to check actually, but I find that really interesting from technological aspect. have you made thoughts about what will be the worst case if you have one very, let's say, patient which
Obese.
has a strong white? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in
Worst
this
case in
case,
the usage, I mean?
so practically, have you made thoughts to define one worst case? Let's say, or you think I will adapt the gas socks.
Can a
to-
500-pound man use it?
Yeah,
I have to,
exactly.
I have to convert that to kilograms. How much
Okay,
is
how
that?
about a 300-kilo guy?
Ooh,
Not yet.
not in this
not
one.
yet.
Not in this
Okay.
one.
All right.
Not the first version. We had to stick to
150, let's say 150,
Wait,
which is one
up-
typical case. Yeah.
Up to 130, yes. So
Okay.
that's what we've tested.
For my friends who know how much I love my King Charles Cavalier, I'm here at my sister's house, and seated beside me this is Brody,
Wow.
and this is Ollie. And they're like they're just out of view, but they're like my armrests right now, which is nice. I'd love to see the next slide, and I want to know, how much does it cost?
Yes, of course. Well, the next slide is basically something we added recently. We have officially pre-sold our wheelchair to Christian, who just like a co-founder last year, he had a car accident. He was a passenger, and unfortunately, the car lost control, hit a tree, and he became paraplegic. But he found out about us and was really interested, wanted to become our ambassador. And from I think it was last week. Let me see.
Is he at the mall or at the hospital? It looks like he's in a hospital bed or a gurney.
So at this stage, I think he's at the football stadium because his brother is a coach of a national football team here.
But
I don't know exactly why he's in that bed, but yeah.
So he's not in your product right now.
No, I have a picture. I do have that. Hold on, I have a picture of that.
Because this confuses. I'm like, you didn't show me any padding on your example, and why is he strapped in? That's
So
different than what we've been discussing.
Here you can actually see a picture of him in a wheelchair.
Yes.
No, we need to put that in the presentation instead of this, despite how beautiful his wife and daughter are.
For sure, but so just basically to show, from last week we've actually they have contacted the foundation who cycled for good causes, and they've gathered enough money basically to whenever the first wheelchair is officially done, it will be his. So that
Would
was
you kindly
very nice.
translate the headline there?
So Tibantia is basically the newsletter, the name of the newsletter, coming with an extensive reconstruction of the accident at the Europalaan in Delden. Delden is the city, his village where it happened.
Thank you.
So it's just the news header of the accident.
Okay.
And so basically I wanted to share that he's very eager to receive his first wheelchair whenever it comes out. And price-wise, of course, is one of the most important things. So I shared with you guys that currently the only
We have
product
the context that others are $20,000, and yours is sold for the low price of
5,000. That's the direction that we want to go for.
Okay.
The idea is that because currently mechanical standing wheelchairs are at that price range, however, they do not offer the possibility to.
So you want to hit price parity with other standing wheelchairs and give this incredible extra benefit. And then eventually gain market share and you'll take pricing.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Your marketing strategist friend approves.
Thank you.
Well, that's good. Actually, we know other wheelchairs here that are sold for more than this. We could definitely go higher.
Right.
And
you want to get fast adoption. I get that.
Exactly. The idea is to go high and give a discount, initially that people. Let's see. This is it's an important point, but we still haven't really done like a very deep analysis of this. The analysis we did so far, everyone was way above the 5,000, willing to pay. Like they were willing to pay.
Yep, I get that.
Even 10,000, they would be willing to pay.
Sure.
Because I just want to add another thing is, everyone look at electrical wheelchairs as they look at electrical bikes, right? But it is not the same thing. Having an electrical wheelchair is just because you only pick an electrical wheelchair if you can't move your arms. That's the reason. If you can move your arms, you go with the mechanical, 100%, because it's a lot lighter, it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier to fix and do whatever you want. So Of course, there was a comment in the beginning of shoulder problems, and indeed, that's a problem that they all suffer. But that's what we are also looking at, and has to do a lot to do with ergonomics of the wheelchair. And another problem is because they sit all the time, not all of them have this willpower to be exercising. So gaining weight is a typical problem of a wheelchair user.
Right, I understand. I
Standing up
may or
will
may
help
not
them.
struggle with willpower myself. Gabriel, how many more slides do you have, if any?
That's it.
Yes,
That's
it
the
is
answer.
the
really
last one.
one very interesting product, and it has a lot of interest in the analysis of the usability engineering, especially in the use scenarios, yeah? User interface, user scenarios.
Yeah.
Luke?
Yes, you're going to the market in the Q3, but how's your marketing then? Is there any kind of
Do you have
patient
spending
group
or anything?
something that you can?
Any kind of what?
How are you
patient group?
commercializing? Do you have a budget?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan?
Sorry, you guys are talking to each
Go
other.
ahead,
so-
Luke, sorry.
Okay. Now, are there any like patient groups or disease groups that you are targeting and for marketing? So, like maybe there's yeah. Well, I think I want to ask the same thing as Joe, but Joe is a marketeer, so he can probably.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll just
Reference?
a bit tightly say, who is your initial market?
Mhm.
And
So-
I'll add, do you
Yes.
have a
Yes,
marketing budget of
indications,
any consequence?
indications, yeah. The target group, yeah.
Right. As I mentioned before, we do have a partnership with Roosting. So they are will be one of our biggest promoter because they are the first contact base when somebody becomes paralyzed. They go to a rehabilitation center. Right now, we've also defined multiple rehabilitation centers who are interested in a product in the Netherlands and surrounding, where whenever we have the next version of the product done, we can go and give our demonstrations because the more we enable rehabilitation centers to have a product, the better it will be because the person will be able to engage with it and would want one person. That's our first route. We also have the idea, of course, as I mentioned, to do pilots with companies. As in the Netherlands, it's very interesting for a company to be able to become more inclusive, PR-wise, but also subsidy-wise, and attract more persons in wheelchair. So right now, just basically putting out the videos that we have on the social media is getting a lot of traction. It's getting a lot of interest as well, especially from American people, actually. So we're not aiming for that market just yet.
Right.
But any person that actually sees our video as in a
sure.
wheelchair or knows somebody in a wheelchair, basically, it's been passing the videos on, and we've been getting loads of messages asking, okay, when can we get it? I mean, super interested in it. We've also been in talks with multiple distribution centers. One that we really know personally is in South Africa. In October, we've been invited by South Korean delegation to be able to present our innovation there. Also, Israel has been there's a group that's very interested, of course, due to the war and everything that's happening. There are a lot of people who are interested in innovation. So basically, these are already the groups that we're aiming to sell to, and to be able
You
to
have a
reach
number
more people.
of large influencers that are ready to give you a stage.
Yes, and actually, I just talked with one of the friends of the coach of the Paralympic teams of the Netherlands, and we'll also be able to present our chair to them, and perhaps they'll take one, and if somebody gets a golden medal, and they may receive a medal standing.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
How much money have you raised?
As of now, we got, I think, 260,000 euros.
That's it?
And yeah. Well, I mean,
And
let me understand what you just said.
came this far,
You've gotten as far as you have with less than $250,000?
Exactly. That's the beauty of it, right?
So no one has ever been paid. God bless you, people.
No, Gabriel gets a salary.
I have to do it. I have to.
You
Everyone-
went to children or something?
Everyone else is like Bon Jovi, living on a prayer.
Yeah,
But
nice.
But no, we are raising now. We're trying to raise a real money in order to get the.
This would be your first seed round or Series A? Have you done
It will
friends
be a
and family?
Series A.
Is it all just your investment?
I mean, we got some convertible loans here out there in the Netherlands.
Have you applied for grants?
We actually started on the basis with a grant, And now we're also looking with the Revitalization Center not to do a subsidy round together. Yeah, based on, of course,
Are you
some data they
accepting
could get.
money at this point? Someone on this call wants to throw $10,000 at you? Are you like, sure, write it out to
I mean, if you guys want to be the
Costa,
first to
that's
buy the chair, we'll be happy.
COSTA. Are you
Yeah.
accepting investments?
Sorry, Joe, I didn't understand the question.
Are you accepting investments?
Yeah, we are open for it. Yeah, for sure.
So you have the structure in the document to send me if I said,
Yeah, we
"Here's
do.
my money, take my money."
We do.
We'll gladly
We
take
do.
it.
We can send to you right away a business plan with what is written there.
Okay, well, I'll take one of those. I don't have any money to give you right now, but one day, gentlemen, one day I'm gonna be rich. You just watch, I'm gonna be so rich. And then I'm gonna
That's
take some of that money and I'm gonna give it to you.
Sounds awesome.
So all you have to do is hope that my stocks go up a lot today. And if they do, we all win. When I win, we all win.
That's
good.
great. That's great.
Can I ask with which notified body are you working and with which US agent?
No notified body, I think.
Exactly. There is no notified body involved. Class one.
For FDA,
non-
yes. US agent.
No, in Europe, you don't need notified body for class one non-sterile. So you do it yourself. The declaration of conformity is the document that you write saying that you follow all the guidelines, right? And once you do this, then you can bring your brand
Yes.
mark. The problem is if you lie and if you
course.
didn't follow, then you get in trouble later in the case of an audit. Then you have a big problem.
Lying is bad.
And
Yeah.
exactly here, if you allow me only this, the regulations leaves a little open the topic. If you should have one technical file for one class one, it's better to have one technical file. It's my suggestion. Yeah.
We do have.
Yeah.
We do have a
imagine,
technical
Eugenio,
file
you-
with all the documentation.
You must be quite stretched. I recognize your budget is quite limited, but if you had help for free, which of the functions among my friends in my network do you need most? Like if you could have one free something, would it be an engineer, a regulatory person, a commercialization, a financier, probably financier, but second, what function do you need most?
I would say sales. Getting someone who would go. I mean, I don't believe in viral things anymore that go and sell by itself. A long time I gave up this idea. It's all about hard work. I think having someone who is good in knocking at doors and selling, I think that would be the number one thing.
Exactly.
That we would need.
Dear Evelino, I think if this salesperson, it will be one good idea to clarify what happens with the insurances, how much the insurance can cover. Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate problem with that is that it's very dependent on country and
Right.
I
sometimes
just
even
tell you that
dependent-
because I remember from Autobock, I was in the University of Münster. They have developed and if you let's say with easy words, if somebody needs one amputated person needs one very expensive implant, prosthesis to work normally. Yeah, the insurance decides really by taking as base how active is the person. Yeah, through one-step activity monitoring system, they say, it is one active person, so the insurance will pay really this expensive, let's say, prosthesis. In this case, it is the same scenario. Yeah, you have here one wheelchair with standing function. And this should be clarified with the insurance, let's say, in which cases they pay, because this will be the deciding point to buy someone this wheelchair, yeah?
It also depends which country in the European Union. Netherlands, it's a lot more complicated than Germany. We know in Germany that...
Okay.
Well, that's my follow-up question. You say you need someone in sales. Into which countries would this salesperson focus?
I would say... I mean, it's hard, but I would think Germany or England would be awesome because sorry?
Yes, because why?
Both countries, the insurance system in Germany is a lot more friendly towards standing wheelchairs. And so they have a code, you go there, talk to the insurance, present your device, and then they give you a code. And the doctor, at the end of the day, the doctor decides, but the patient has the right to tell the doctor, I want that wheelchair because I can move. for example.
Mm.
And of course, we still have to pair with the other prices in order to get there. The other thing, England spends a lot of money on mobility aids. It's incredible. I'm talking about like scooters for wheelchair users. It's 100,000 per year.
Wow,
You know,
okay.
Maybe
it's a
in
massive
Switzerland
thing.
also, yeah? We must check.
But I mean, Switzerland has a small population. That's the problem. You
Okay.
have to take into account
Yeah.
also the population, because you have in Europe around 1% of the population on wheelchair. In the US, you have also 1%, but you have in the US 12% of people with mobility problems,
Right.
who
Tell
are
me.
not necessarily wheelchair bound, but they would like to have a wheelchair, you know, that would facilitate their lives, especially if they can stand up. Loads of people. We're talking about 12%. 12.
Right.
That's a huge
With
number.
a
US,
$5,000 price point, what are your variable costs? How much does it cost to produce a unit?
right now, Gabriel, go ahead.
Yeah, as of now, well, we have to do a recalculation on that because we changed the model a little bit. But as of now, will be around 2K.
2K?
Produce.
Okay, I was going to guess 3. Good for you. So with the limited capital you have and your launch plan within 2 months, how many are you going to, is it like going to be by hand initial assembly? There's no,
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, wheelchairs are assembled by hand usually. So
well, you still
that's
have to order the parts. I mean, so how many molds or parts or?
that's the beauty of it. Most of the parts are standardized. So we buy them. I mean, there are 2 pieces that are
Unique to you.
tailor-made for us, and they are related to our patent as well. So
But
those
they're
are the ones.
relatively inexpensive and small?
No, they're a little bit larger.
Okay.
And that's actually where the most of this 2000 thing is, right? Is in this particular piece that once we go to a large scale, then things will further drop.
And
That's-
are you
that's-
already talking with, or is it much too early to start talking with well-known wheelchair manufacturers?
No, we are not yet talking to them, not yet. So our plan is to first go into the market, learn a little bit more. We don't want to sell 1,000
Sure.
the first year.
Yeah.
We don't want, and we know it's not real.
Yeah.
So we want first to learn. We want to sell 20 units by the like maybe 100 units in the next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And then get the feedback.
Sure.
We know people do stupid things.
Yeah.
And it's better to get 100 stupid things than get 1,000 stupid things done. Because if 1,000 stupid things comes to our door, Gabriel will run away.
And you don't want any more than 10 people falling off a cliff. I hear you completely.
Exactly. And then we want to make sure.
And then what, if any, or you're just too small for anyone to care, no offense, what, if any, competitive response do you expect?
I think we are still too small to be on the radar for them to come and say, hey, because that would mean, think about Autobox, Sunrise Medical, they would have to cannibalize a lot of their stock.
Sure.
You know, in order to, because once they come, and they will, I mean, if by God's grace, if we get really successful and people say, hey guys, we want this type of thing, we don't want the typical wheelchair anymore, competition will come, you know, but at this moment, we want to be the brand name in the market.
Sure.
And
what is the brand name?
I mean, the product names, it's
Product
Easer.
name. The?
Easer.
Easer?
Yeah.
Spell it.
It's E-Z-E-R.
ER, yeah.
Okay.
And it's, I mean, Rick, who is going to church, he will recognize the name. It comes from a very famous biblical
Ezekiel?
expression. Ebenezer. The Lord is our
Ebenezer.
helper.
Boy, you
Yeah,
got a lot
so-
of God infused in that product.
It has to work, right?
And you said with
It is
God's
blessed.
grace. Well, I wish you God's grace and Godspeed. And this is
Thank you.
very exciting. And I'm delighted to have met you today. And thank you, Luke, for making this introduction. Who else do you know? Who's speaking next week, Luke? Yeah, I know. You can't find people of this caliber every
Well,
week.
Demcon is making a lot of medical products, so I'm reaching out, but I don't know. Probably a few will do.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I really wish you a lot of luck. And no, I wasn't kidding. Go ahead and send, like I said, I don't have it today, but keep me apprised. This sounds very interesting and promising. And shit, even if I lose 100% of my investment, it will have been for God's work.
Exactly.
Man, amen.
And I mean, at least we could come out of this meeting like getting connected via LinkedIn so that you guys can see.
Well, Gabriel
what
has emailed me, so you're already one step closer.
Of course.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
All the best wishes for success. It is really interesting. I wish you really the best. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro.
All right, that concludes today's call. Thank you everyone for joining us, and
Thank you very much for
I
having
look
us.
forward to my American friends watching it later on so they can see what I saw today. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great
Thank you very
weekend.
much, Joe.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All the best.
Good weekend.